welcome to the Paint Log. My name is Keith, and we're going to talk about my hobby progress over this past week. Pretty busy week once again. I am running off of like zero sleep, so we're just going to dive right into the minis. With the first one that I painted up, a zombie cat from the Cursed. This mini came from the Warhammer Quest Cursed City box. It's pretty small, and it took me like an hour. I think I actually forced myself to do it in an hour and a half. I went over a little bit because I was an idiot and I was like, I'm going to do an undead cat, which, no duh, it's an undead cat. But I originally painted the skin that is now like this muted black in a color called Undead Flesh, which is a muted green, with the original intent that it would look more ghoulish or zombie-like if it had some like green decaying flesh under the black, which I plan to dry brush over it. But when I actually executed that plan and dry brushed the black over it, it looked terrible. And thus we stuck with a all black base coat, and I very much just kind of tried to copy the box art because I was trying to finish it in a time frame. All being said, I wasted about 45 minutes of my time with the base coating because the Undead Flesh that I was using is a very thin paint, and so it just took multiple layers to get on, and then the dry brushing I did multiple layers of as well. So I wasted my time and I had to extend myself a little bit. But ultimately I'm happy with where it came out. And it's definitely a little bit creepy. And I think that was the original intent of the sculptors. I don't know for certain, but like zombie cats are kind of creepy. They're kind of cute too. But I'm happy that the paint scheme really came together and helped accentuate that creepy aspect of this particular model. The zombie cat was a joy to paint up, but of course I also picked a random mini from last week and I started painting it. It's definitely going to be a two-parter, our first two-parter, I do believe. But let's go ahead and take a look at that now. Before we look at the mini itself, we're going to look at the base. I painted this to completion. I'm really happy with how this came out, even though the original intent was for it to be a complementary color scheme to the miniature itself so that I could place it on and it would really stand out. I do think it will stand out once I place the miniature on the base, as you'll see here shortly, but doesn't quite match with the color. I base coated this in a whole red and then heavily dry brushed it with a burnt orange. I then took a bright orange and did a medium dry brush, so covering less than I did with the heavy dry brush. And finally, I took a yellow orange and just tried to catch the edges and some of the raised parts. And overall, I think it came out really, really well. So I'm happy with how this base came out, even if it is not a perfect complement to the miniature that it goes with. And speaking of the mini, here is the Elemental Warrior that we pulled from the mystery mini box from last week. The color scheme comes from Kelly Irish 9522. It's the second of the color schemes that they listed. Thank you, Kelly, for a wonderful color scheme. I really have been enjoying painting this guy. That's why he's going to take probably two. You're going to see the progression of him next week. I've really been focusing on the lighting and making sure that there's like smooth transitions in the skin, but also highlighting everything. I wanted to pose this guy. That's why you have only seen the front of him. He's posed a specific way to accentuate the lighting effect to make it more dramatic. So I want kind of his face obscured in shadow a little bit with the light coming from his left side. And I'm getting there. I'm happy with it. So we're going to keep progressing it instead of trying to rush it and get it done. I went ahead and placed the lavender and the yellow base coats, like just the first base coats, to get an idea of where the color would be and if I would enjoy or like those two particular shades of those two colors. I'm really happy with how they look currently, and we'll definitely get more detail to them later. The club and the necklace, I'm going back and forth about what color scheme I want to use with them, if I'm going to go with just like wood brown and how I'm going to make that pop. But we will see that, and that will be a next week problem. As we move to the backside, I do have to take a moment to apologize for the lack of booty in this episode. It has been fun with that, but we're past all those childish celebrations now, guys. This is a mature channel. But in all seriousness, I think it's clearer that I did not get to as much attention to detail on the backside yet. The lighting is definitely still a little bit off, and I focused more on the abdomen area and chest at the front and making sure that I got the shadows and everything right. I'm happy with how it turns out so far, and we'll see its progression later on next week. Even though we're still technically working on the random mini from last week, we will go ahead and pull another random mini from this week, with the caveat that it may not get painted, and it may actually be the random mini for the 2 weeks from now. I have our random mini loot box, so let's give it a shake. And we will go ahead and pick. Let's go quick. I got this one. So we actually got a really cool mini. It is this Japanese Oni or demon. It is a puppet woman, puppet mistress. I'll have to do some research. This one's got me curious. If you have a color scheme you'd like to see this puppet Oni painted up in, go ahead and leave it in the comments down below. Remember, if you liked the video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you want to stay up to date with all of my videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well. It really means a lot to me, so come join me on my painting journey. I want to thank all of you who have tagged along thus far, especially those of you who made it to the end of this video. And with that, I'm Keith, this has been the Paint Log, and I will see you all next time. Bye!